Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be men who don't act like men. I got two emails that I'm going to go through here today. The second email, the guy, he's obviously pretty jaded and pretty pissed off, but at the end of the day, he really only has himself to be pissed off with because of the things that he's experiencing with women that he wants. And then the first email is kind of a same kind of situation where the guy's got involved with a girl, met her online, talked to her for like a month and a half, I think it is. And they talk on the phone all the time, but every time, he's like, we've become really close, but he hasn't gone out with her yet, hasn't met her yet, and she always seems to have an excuse why they can't get together. So before we get into it, I got an email here from, or I should say, I got a quote that I want to share with you. And it says, when we lack knowledge of what to do to achieve the outcomes we want, fear we aren't good enough, or fear that we won't be loved and accepted, this leads to anger and frustration. When you feel yourself becoming fearful, anxious, angry, or unsure, ask yourself, what knowledge or experience do I feel I presently lack that is causing me to move into this unresourceful and weak state? Then, instead of becoming angry, uncentered, and frustrated, become excited that you are about to learn something you did not know or gain experience you did not have that will make you an even stronger and more skilled person. Happiness and success are a state of mind that arises from the actions you take and the meanings you give things. So let's get into the first guy's email here. And both of these guys are doing something, obviously, with what the title is, the video is Men Who Don't Act Like Men. And the reason that these guys are not experiencing the success that they want is they're not acting like men. And when I talk to women clients of mine, that is the biggest thing that they complain about, is that guys just don't act like men. They're like, where are the real men? Where are men that take charge kind of guy that's real honest, real upfront, and comes right out and says what he really wants and what's really on his mind? It's like they're so afraid to take any kind of resistance, any risk, I should say, and they're so afraid to take any kind of action that they always take this indirect, weird way of going about things. Maybe it's the friendship route, or they hide their feelings and are not honest and authentic, and it just gives off this creepy, weird vibe that makes women just say, well, he's a really nice guy, but in reality what's happening is these men are acting more like women than they are men. And you see this a lot in the movies and the television programming. Is just when you look at movies from 30, 40, 50 years ago, the men acted like men. They did what they want, and they focused on their purpose and their mission in life. And usually it was a woman running after them, trying to lock them down to a commitment or to marriage. And they obviously reluctantly in the end would go along with it, or at least kind of playfully let her think that they weren't really into it because they saw how it frustrated her, and they were playful and in a good-natured way. It wasn't manipulative, but they were strong. They were masculine. But what you see today, even with like some of the superhero movies, these men just act so fucking weak, and they're always covering up their feelings. They're always afraid to say what's really on their mind because they're fearing rejection. And that is what both these guys are suffering from here, and it's creating a lot of problems and a lot of frustration in them. So let's go to the first guy's email. He says, hey Corey, I just want to let you know I'm a big fan of your videos, and I just have a question. Alright, so recently I got into internet dating, the Plenty of Fish website to be specific. He says, I wasn't expecting much on it, but then I met this really hot girl on there. Well, at least you think she's hot because all you've seen at this point is her pictures. He says, it's been 1.5 to 2 months since we've met, and we talk on the phone every night, and we've got really close. So like in your mind, you're in a relationship with her, and in reality, you've just kind of become the gay friend. You've kind of become the emotional tampon, if you will. And so while she's going out and dating other guys, they get right to the point and invite her out on a date. You've taken the kind of friendship route here. I mean, 2 months talking on the phone, that's insane. He says, I'm ready to try and meet her in person. He says, however, every time I try to make plans with her, she says she can't get off work. I'm thinking about being upfront with her. Well, you should have done that in the beginning, dude. This is, after all, a dating site. And let her know what I want, like you suggest in some of your videos. I would love to hear your opinion. Well, that's part of the problem. When this thing goes on for 2 months and you don't stand up for yourself and you're not like, hey, let's get together and meet up for a drink. Because when you're doing internet dating, just like I talk about in the article, the ultimate online dating profile, the key is you talk for maybe 8-10 minutes on the phone to see if you like her voice, you like the way she sounds, the conversation seems to flow. Because if the conversation is flowing well on the phone, there's a good chance that it'll flow well in person, as long as obviously the mutual physical attraction is there. But if you're having a hard time with a conversation on the phone, then I wouldn't waste my time meeting the girl in person, because if it's not going well on the phone, it's probably not going to go too well in person either. And so the problem is this has gone on for 2 months. So what you just need, I wouldn't call her, I wouldn't do anything. More than likely, you're probably calling her all the time, and she says she's busy and this and that, and then you just keep calling her the day after that, the day after that, the day after that, and you've basically become the friend, in essence, thinking, I'll just be friends with her long enough, and then eventually she'll get together to see me. So wait to hear from her. When she calls you next, if she actually calls you, say, hey, we need to meet. I mean, we've been talking for 2 months here. I mean, you sound like a great girl, but I don't know what you're really like in person, and I'd really like to meet you, because otherwise it's kind of like, what's the point? So when are you free to get together? Oh, I don't know. I got work. Great. Well, check your schedule, figure it out, and call me back, and we'll plan something then. And say a couple days go by, or maybe she calls you the next night. Hey, how you doing? Just wanted to call and chat. Hey, great to hear from you. So would you figure out with your schedule? Oh, gee, I don't know. I can't get off work. This, that. Oh, okay, great. Well, check your schedule and get back to me. I got to run, and we'll plan something then. And just keep giving her that. So one of two things will happen. She'll either make plans with you and have a time when she can actually meet you, or she's going to stop calling you. And that's what I would do if I were you. And if you ask her 2 times and she still doesn't, oh, I don't know, then when she calls, talk to her for a minute or two and say, hey, it was great hearing from you, but I'm really jammed up right now. I got to run. Keep in touch. And then just keep doing that. One of 2 things will happen. She'll either stop calling or she'll bring up a date. And if she brings up getting together, then make the date. If not, get the hell off the phone and then move on. But next time, don't get 2 months down the road talking to a girl, because you friend zone yourself there with that dude. So let's get into the second one. This dude's like really cynical and obviously really pissed off and frustrated with women. And remember the quote that I said here. It's like, when you feel fearful, fear always leads to anger and frustration. And that's usually our primary fears, are fear that we're not enough. In other words, fear that we don't have what it takes, or fear that we won't be loved. And obviously in this case, since it has to do with a romantic relationship, what you really want is one great girl to really appreciate you for you. The problem is if you're not acting like a man, you're not being upfront and going for the things that you want, then you set yourself up to get jerked around. You set yourself up to become the emotional tampon in the telephone. And it's just not a fun way to go about it. He says, hi, Corey. I've gotten to this conclusion that it's all about the woman, that if she wants to be with the man, and when and how and in what terms. Well, it's up to you as the man to make a date with her, not to sit around and wait for the woman to take the lead or be the leader. Remember, women are physically designed to receive us. They'll put themselves into our orbit, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to invite her out to meet up for a drink or a cup of coffee, whatever it happens, take her to dinner, whatever it happens to be. But most women are not going to come right out and ask you to get together. Some of them will, but the majority of them will not. Why? Because they want you to be the man. They don't want to decide what restaurant to go to or what you're going to do. They just want to show up, look hot, have a great time, and have you lead it to a successful conclusion in the bedroom. Ultimately, that's the whole purpose of the two of you getting together. If there's a mutual physical attraction, ultimately it's going to lead to sex in the bedroom at some point. He says, let's face it, they have billions of options, and we, on the other hand, have much, much, much less options. Well, that's just simply your perception. It's like everywhere I go, I meet beautiful women. And it's like, for me, like because I go to a lot of the same places for lunch and dinner, I get to know a lot of people there. And so I walk in, they're like, hey, Corey, how are you? I was like a regular. Then you get to know everybody there. They become friendly to you. And like for me, if the women that I like or I think are attractive, I'm like, hey, beautiful, hey, gorgeous, how are you? What's new? What's happening? They tell me what's going on in their life. They tell me they got a birthday party coming up. I'm like, well, hey, shit, shoot me a text, and if I'm free, maybe I'll meet out with you and help you celebrate your birthday with you and your girlfriends. If they have interest, they'll say, oh, let me get your number. It's just so simple to do things that way, to give out your number in that context, especially if you're a guy that is really fearful of going and risking a rejection. Because at the end of the day, if you throw it out there like that, if the woman knows that you find her attractive, but you're not hitting on her, you're not asking her out, and you get to know somebody, become friendly with them, and you interject something like that, because you never know. Maybe she's got a really hot girlfriend that you really do click with and you really want to date. And so you can never have too many beautiful women as friends, but you got to be upfront. You got to act like a man. You can't act like a weird creep. He says the bigger their boobs are and the prettier their faces are, the more options they have. They can get sex anytime they ask for it. Well, that's sex anytime they ask for it. That's pretty much true. Now, I saw a video recently. I think it was the guys that have a YouTube channel called Whatever. And they had a guy and a girl, and the guy walked up to 100 different women, and it was like, would you like to have sex with me? One of the girls threw water on him. Some of them giggled and laughed. Most of them, pretty much all of them, I don't think he went through 100 and didn't get one that said yes. But the girl, she started walking up to guys and go, hey, would you like to have sex with me? And it was amazing. A lot of the guys were like, sure. And then obviously, afterwards she revealed that they were just doing an experiment. But so that is actually a true statement. He says that it makes them extremely fussy, shallow, and heartless, and pussy power goes a long way. Well, that's because you give your power away. You're afraid of women. You're intimidated by them. And women are going to test your strength, especially when they sense weakness in you. They're going to test you and see if they can jerk you around. If they can jerk you around and you just sit there and take it, then they stick you in the nice guy friend zone and you don't get anywhere with that kind of behavior. He says they look at us men as a bunch of idiots, as we are. He puts in parentheses. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of women that I talk to, I say the majority of them, they're very frustrated with the guys that they meet. As they blow their phone up, they just never wonder where they... I've had so many women, I'm doing phone sessions, like, I wish a guy would not call me so I can wonder about him, and I have to reach out and call him, but they're always blowing my phone up. It's a total turnoff, because they call too much, they text too much, they pursue too much. And they turn women off. In essence, what's going on is they're acting like women. He says they laugh at us and they get away with everything. Well, it's because, when you act weak, a woman's going to see, if you give her an inch, she's going to try and take a mile. If you let her take the mile, then, you know what, you fucking deserve what you get, dude. He said some of us do believe that there is a God. Well, I don't know about that, but he has made a mess as he could create this world much better and a lovelier place to live. It's not God's fault. The problem is you're just simply not acting like a man when you interact with women. That's why you're getting jerked around. Just like the first email, because this particular guy sent me an email several months ago, and it was the same thing. And obviously he hasn't changed. I told him what he needed to do, and he obviously didn't listen to me because he sounds like he's even more frustrated today than he was the last time. Because what he was doing, he was acting creepy. He was asking women to be friends first, when what he really wanted to do was take him out. It's creepy. It's weird. And he acts like a stalker. And then he says he wants to be friends, but then he gets pissed off at them when they're talking to another guy. It was like women are dying for men to meet a man who actually acts like a man. He says some have billions of options. Some even can't get one person to be there for them. Women in general have all the men begging to be with them, while we men must play all of our cards right. Now think about that. A guy who's begging a woman to be with him. Does that sound like a strong, masculine alpha male? Do you think James Bond would beg a woman to be with him? Absolutely not. He acts as if he deserves to be there. Of course I deserve a beautiful woman like you. Of course we should be together. It makes so much sense to me. That's the place that he comes from. But a guy who talks like that is a guy who doesn't feel like he's worthy. He doesn't feel like he deserves to be with a woman. And since he doesn't feel like he deserves to be with a woman, that clouds everything he does and everything that he says when he's with women. He says, men must play all of our cards right and be extremely handsome and rich, and still who knows if we can make it happen. It's sad, but true. Women like guys that are successful. It's not the money, it's the fact that these guys are confident enough and fearless enough, and they take enough risks to get what it is that they want in life. And money just happens to be a side effect of being that way, of being masculine in that particular manner. He says, with all my experiences, I can tell you something for the fact that good-looking women firstly want a guy to be drop-dead gorgeous, movie star, looking hunk, and then some with too much cash, and they will open their legs. He says, oh, sorry, they're a heart to him. Women want to receive a man's strength. They're physically designed to receive a man. They want a strong man. And a lot of guys, obviously, that are strong and successful happen to also have money. It's because of that fearlessness. It's because they take risks. It's because they go for things that they want. A good book that you should read is called Wild at Heart by, I think it's John Eldridge. He's wrote 3 or 4 books, and they're fantastic. And it talks about how boys, when they're young, they're dangerous. They climb trees. They take risks. They make these ridiculous ramps that they jump in their bicycles, which are dangerous. That's masculine energy. But it's like by the time boys get to be adults, they've been so neutered and afraid to be themselves that they go from acting strong when they're younger to acting totally weak by the time they become an adult. He says, women also love the guy to treat them like shit, but he must do it professionally. You know what I mean. The universe could be a much better place to live on. Well, when you start acting like a man, things will definitely change for you. He says, with these shallow and heartless, cruel evils, this guy's so positive, isn't he? With these shallow and cruel evils, you must be exactly like them. How? Establish your presence among them and just be cool and be there and act so aloof as if you don't care and it's not a big deal, and let them initiate it. If they are available and not taken, and if they find you attractive and they're sick and out of logic mind, well, women are not logical like that. Women are emotional beings. You've heard me say it all the time. The problem is you're kind of stuck in your old way of thinking, and you're too afraid and you're too fearful to change. That's why nothing has changed with you since the last time that you wrote me an email 3-4 months ago, whatever it was. He says, and if they're in a good mood, they're not on their period, and if, they will let you know. He says they don't give a fuck if a breakup happens easily. Well, women have feelings too, dude, and women are not the enemy, but if you perceive them as the enemy, what happens is the reason you're so hostile to them is because you see yourself as separate from everything that you want. Deep down, you don't feel you're worthy. I mean, listen to all your self-talk. Listen to the way you've talked all the way throughout this email. He says Mariah Carey sings a song, Can't Live. Maybe she's from another planet, Hollywood, as you always mention. Well, actually, that song that Mariah Carey sang in the 90s, Can't Live, was actually a song, I think it was Harry Chapin that wrote that song originally back in the 1970s, and it was a big hit of his, and she just did a remake of it, so that has nothing to do with it. He says, between all these idiots, men, someone who is focusing on his own life and career and tries to make the money and be successful and never chase after them is the winner. That's true. The idea is that you don't run after it, because the very nature of chasing and pursuing is acting and demonstrating unworthiness, is treating women like a celebrity. And women don't want to be treated like a celebrity. They want to be treated like regular people. But when guys are so intimidated by their looks, it's like I'm just amazed at when I talk to a woman, I'm just like, God, you're gorgeous. You look amazing today. It's like most of the time, 99% of the time, this is the reaction I get. You really think so? It's like they're so shocked and they're so stunned because the average beautiful woman just doesn't get approached, because most guys are so timid and they're so afraid to come right out and say what they really feel. Like, oh, God, you have a fucking unbelievable body. Oh, God, you have gorgeous legs. Oh, you have gorgeous eyes. It's like the average woman, it's like they don't hear those kinds of compliments. It's so rare because every guy is basically acting creepy like the way you do, which is trying the friendship route instead of just being direct and honest and speaking what's in your heart and taking the risk. Taking the risk of hearing, oh, I'm sorry, I'm really flattered, but hey, I have a boyfriend. He says, once they initiate something and it starts, and yes, you have to be correct all the way to success. But my friend, please confirm this and tell all your clients it's all up to her to let it happen, and and men are powerless. Well, it's like, you think you're powerless. I certainly don't feel that I'm powerless. And a lot of the people that follow what I teach, because I read enough of the emails from guys that are succeeding, who went from thinking just like you to now they're succeeding and having lots of success. Like the guy whose email that I read yesterday, he was trying to he was all brokenhearted about his ex that dumped him, and he started following what I teach. He walked away, said, hey, give me a call if it doesn't work out, because she had lined up a new dude by then. 3 or 4 months go by, and that new boyfriend talks her right out of liking him. And then what does she do? She reaches out to the ex-boyfriend, and so this guy starts following everything textbook and letting her come to him. They start hanging out, having fun, and hooking up again. And then what does he do? He goes right back to the old behavior, and then he gets friend-zoned again. But at that point, because he had several months away from the ex-girlfriend, he had been practicing the things that I taught, and he had plenty of other options. So even though he got dumped and stuck in friend zone because he was acting inappropriate, he was able to right away start meeting and dating 3 or 4 other women and hooking up with them, and it helped him get over it really quickly. And he feels like he has power and he has choice in his life again, which is something he's never experienced before. And that makes it easy to get over a bad breakup, or when you get rejected or you fuck up with a girl that you really like, is when you have options, because repetition is the mother of skill. And so the more successes that you have over time, that overcomes the pain of the failures that you have. And since you still have not been applying the things that I teach, you just stayed stuck in your own way. It's like you have to get to a point in your life where you're just tired of things being the way they are. You're tired of being cynical. You're tired of not having the success that you want. Because what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And so this is where he talks about his first email that he wrote. He says, I'm that bouncer in Australia who had sent you an email before, and I told you about a woman that I really liked her, and here was his approach. And I told her, let's be friends. So instead of asking her out, he starts talking about let's be friends. And so she comes in the club, he's giving off the friendship vibe, and then he gets pissed off at her when she's with another dude and starts acting like she's supposed to be his girlfriend, when he communicated that he was interested in friendship because his balls were the size of BBs, and he didn't have the guts to go for what he really wanted. And it creeped her out. And listen to what happens. He said, and she made a complaint to the club, and then I got sacked. In other words, he got fucking fired from his job for acting like a creep. It's like, so acting inauthentic, not only did he get you rejected by the girl that you really wanted, you creeped her out to the point where she complained to the management and they fired your ass. It's like, hello, dude. It's like, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always gotten. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're cynical and you have a shitty attitude. You keep doing the same things over and over again and you don't get any better success. So what's changed? You got rejected. You feel butthurt over that, which is understandable. And you lost your job. And it's not because of the woman. It's because of you and how you chose to show up. It's because you chose to show up and, in essence, act like a weird, creepy woman, if you will. And look what happened. It dramatically impacted your life. And these are the kind of events that you got to get to a point where you're just like, this fucking sucks. This is insanity, doing the same kind of shit over and over and over again. And here it is, several months later, and what's changed with you? Nothing, obviously. So it's like, at some point, the only way you're going to change is you get to a certain point where you like hit rock bottom, and you're just like, I'm fucking tired of this. I realize that the way I'm going about things is not working. And when a guy gets to that point, or a woman, if a woman's watching this, that's when, or any human being for that matter, human beings get to the point where they realize that I'm just tired of things sucking the way they are. I'm tired of things being the way they are, and I need to do something to change. And maybe the best way to get help is to book a paid phone coaching session with me. That way I can help you one-on-one. I can talk to you and listen and ask specific questions that'll tell me exactly what's going on with you and exactly what you need to do to turn things around. However, at the end of the day, you must participate in your own rescue. The only way things are going to change for you is by the person that you see in the mirror every day, changing your approach. Because one of the biggest techniques of being successful is to take action, obviously, and then to measure your success and your failures. In other words, when you're taking action, you're going to get results, good, bad, indifferent. And when you take action and you get results, it's the idea is that you notice what's working, and you also notice what is not working. And then change your approach. And you keep changing your approach and modifying and practicing and honing your skill until you get better. But if you keep going this same creepy way, until you change, nothing's going to change for you. So if you'd like to get my help personally, you'd like to book a phone session with me, I also do email phone sessions. So like if you got an emergency email question, I'll answer it within 24 to 48 hours. I added a new option just this past week to my website under the products tab. So if you want to book a paid hour-long phone coaching session with me, you can do that. If you just want to send a quick email in and get a quick email response from me, you can do that too, just by clicking the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website. And I will talk to you soon.